Hey guys, welcome to another great episode of the 10 Minutes with Boston Chris podcast with yours truly, Boston Chris. And today we are super excited to talk to a person was completely unknown to me prior to this podcast project. We're talking with Sir Ken Celli from Brookline, Massachusetts, about his project called Adios Fatso. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. Adios Fatso is a musical project born in the midst of pandemic chaos. Boston local Sir Ken Celli and childhood punk rocker friend Marco challenged each other on Instagram to individually write and post a new song every single day. Quick, off the cuff, fun and short enough to be shared on Instagram. The songs, originally just a fun little exercise, quickly gained momentum and fulfilled their purpose of keeping both parties' minds busy and engaged during uncertain times. This went on for the initial stages of the lockdown as a way to stave off insanity and entertain themselves. But several months later, Marco enjoyed the tunes so much that he suggested to Sir Ken that they record the songs he had written, just for fun, and to do it entirely DIY, remote, and from the comfort of home. Sir Ken didn't hesitate to jump at the opportunity to collaborate on a musical project, which featured recording with his homie for the very first time. The result was a collection of 11 songs, plus 11 music videos that became Adios Fatso's first album, titled No Cap, with Sir Ken in charge of vocals, string instruments, arrangements, and sound design, while Marco recorded drums for all tracks in his basement in Denver, Colorado. Guys, we are super excited to feature Sir Ken Celli from Adios Fatso here on the 10 Minutes with Boston Chris podcast. Check it out.
The phone's ringing, it's time for FaceTime. I wonder how many will be on this call. Check the filters, go ahead and pick one. Make sure the volume button is turned on. It's time to chat. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. It's time to chat. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. Until we all lose connection.
Hey guys, welcome to another fantastic episode of the 10 Minutes with Boston Chris podcast. And today we have a big treat for you guys from my neck of the woods, all the way from, I believe, Brookline, Massachusetts, my new friend, Sir Ken Celli. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Well, first of all, I have to know, how did you find out about the show? Because I think you were the first person to reach out to me.
So I think I saw something on Facebook and it looked interesting to me. So I checked it out and I was like, oh, cool. This is the kind of show I would love to like be on. So I reached out.
I appreciate that. That's pretty cool to like. I think you were the very first email that we got in the new account and everything. So,
Oh,
and
sweet.
I love interesting bands and acts, and that's definitely what you are. And I'm really excited to kind of pick your brain on what you do. I guess the first question I have for you is what's your earliest memory involving music?
Ooh, good question. My earliest memory will be my parents playing some Michael Jackson for me.
Wow.
So that was like back in the day. They were very into Michael Jackson and the Beach Boys, so they will be playing that all the time around the house. So I think that's pretty much the earliest I remember.
You're originally from Venezuela, is that correct?
So born in Boston, but I grew up in Venezuela. Yes.
Okay. So are you American or did you have Venezuelan blood or well, how
Yeah,
did that?
yeah. So that's a very good question. So my family is from Italy.
Wow.
and they escaped World War II and went to Venezuela. But then I grew up down there, but I was born in Boston, so all over the place. So I have citizenship, American and Venezuelan.
That's incredible. And your parents are originally from Italy.
My family, yes,
So you got
my family.
Italian, you got Venezuelan, you got American.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm working on getting the Italian passport as
So
well.
this is
When I
like
have green.
Pokemon for you, man. You're just collecting passports,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, lots to talk about, man. I found that interesting. I was like, okay, he's got an Italian name, he's got Venezuelan background. I was also born in the Boston area, so we have that in
See?
common. Um, yeah, I grew up in a city called Brockton. I'm sure you're
Oh,
familiar
I
with
know
it.
Brockton.
Yeah.
I know.
Yep. All right, so yeah,
So
I'm curious what the music scene is like in Boston nowadays in 2024. Tell me about that.
so yeah, but a bunch of venues have shut down, unfortunately. I think the rising prices on rent has made an impact in that sense. And so it's so like now the ones that we still have, we gotta value them and not take them for granted. Uh, that said, everything's like a cycle, and musicians like to reinvent themselves, and they find out ways. I know. There's like this venue that's like sort of secret society thing going on that they make shows and they don't tell you where they are, but it's secretly in Boston in a basement.
Yep.
So you gotta like ask the friend of the friend of the friend for the address type thing, which I find kind of cool. I always love that type of like movement, you know?
So when I last lived in the area, it was before the advent of social media, and it was very similar. Like the only way you would know about a show is if you went into the newspaper or happened to hear it on the radio. You know, if the radio station that you listened to was one of the sponsors for the show, otherwise you wouldn't know. You know, so yeah, I
Yeah.
can. It's kind of funny that it's still sort of that way there, even with social media
But
around.
it's gone through cycles because like around 10-year plus back, there were those like basement shows, and then they kind of disappeared. And because now like actual venues are shutting down, those basement shows are popping up again.
And I remember the basement shows from the '90s. I'll keep it real.
Oh,
I saw Godsmack at a basement show in Boston
no
back in those days.
way!
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Let's see. I saw Godsmack, Alien Ant Farm, Nonpoint, Stained.
Really?
Is the Avalon still around?
No, no, no. That's gone long time ago.
Oh man,
Long
that's
time.
sad. That's sad.
Yeah, yeah,
That was a great venue.
yeah.
So the project that we're talking about today, it's called Adios Fatso, and the project was created because of the pandemic era lockdowns. So what's the story of this? How did it come about, and what was the evolution like from idea to reality?
Yeah, absolutely. So we got to go back to like maybe March, April 2020. Everyone's going nuts. No one knows what's going to happen. Anxiety levels are through the roof. You got to stay locked in. You got to stay inside and find a way to not lose your mind. So that said, the only way to communicate with like anyone you knew was through like the internet. And at the time, like Instagram was a big thing. And that said, everyone there was like a thing going on Instagram where people challenge each other for like workouts, paintings, whatever, artwork, whatnot. And one of those challenges was like I had a friend that challenged me like, you got to write a song each day, and with the purpose of putting it on like Instagram stories, which at the time had like a 30-second limit. So
Hmm.
you have to create a song that will be under 30-second limit, not think about it, off the cuff, and just go with it. So my buddy was challenging me on that, and I would challenge back, and he will show me his song, and I'll show him my song, and so on. So a bunch of days went by, and after a while, we had a big like stack of songs, accumulated in my phone for that purpose. And a few months went by, and my buddy's like, "I like the songs a lot. Why don't we record them?" And I'm like, "It was just for fun. Like, it wasn't never like a serious thing. Like,
Hmm.
it was very casual and whatnot. We didn't look further than just doing it for to keep our like brains occupied at the time. So I was like, he insisted, and I was like, okay, I've never collaborated with you. This is a buddy of mine called Marco. He's a childhood buddy of mine from Venezuela. He lives now in Colorado. And I was like, okay, this could be a good opportunity to do a collab with you, which I've never done before. And I've known you for so many years. He's a musician as well. And so I told him, like, I'll do it only if you play the drums of the tracks, because he's the drummer. And he's like, I'm down, dude. I have everything here at home. I have like a little interface with microphones and whatnot. So I'm down. I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. So we started working towards that. And like at the end of the day, like we had a bunch of songs. We recorded them. We had fun doing it. We learned how to record at home, because that's the other thing. It's not like we knew what we were doing. We were like learning as we went. So the end result was the No Cap album with 11 songs.
And so it's just it's interesting to me as a music fan how much adjustments musicians had to make because of, you know, not necessarily the end of the world, but definitely the pausing of the world, right? So everything just
Mhm.
kind of stopped for a time. So it's always very interesting as a music fan, somebody who's not a musician at all, to see how all of y'all adjusted to getting your art out there, because the art doesn't stop. Creativity doesn't stop, right? You still have to feed that beast. So
Yep.
what was your music like prior to the pandemic? What kind of projects were you working with prior to that?
So I play in a band called Crew Miracle, and it's a rock and roll band, and we had been practicing once or twice a week regularly. We have our shows, the regular stuff that bands do. But because of the pandemic, that kind of was put on pause for
Right.
that time.
Mhm.
So so and so I took the time, the locked in time to learn how to record at home, because I had like a bad experience with DOS before. So I was like, I'll never get into that ever again. So because of the pandemic conditions, it made me go, and the technology has advanced so much to that point
Mhm.
that it made it like easy for me to like get into it again. So like even though this is a bad thing to say, I think I like had something positive out coming from the pandemic type thing. So
Right.
yeah,
And getting back to the current project, I got to ask you this cuz when asked what genre your music is,
good
your
question.
your answer is, quote, DIY punk rock and a broad musical sensibility fueled by dark humor and a dose of existentialism. Can you expound upon that?
Yeah. So basically, everything you just said, it's true. So that's why I like that description. But I'm trying to like bring like put it into like something shorter. And I think my conclusion, and this is very broad. I think I'm calling it like we just play American rock music, and that's it. I don't care. But to your point, what you just read, I think that's very like to the point. You know.
I was like, man, that's the first time I've ever gotten syllable soup when asked about genre. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I loved it, man. I was like, geez, there's
No,
even.
because I was trying to be as thorough that as I could with it, you know?
Yeah,
Because I know, and it's already happened. People will throw you in the punk rock like bucket.
right,
People will throw you into the indie bucket. I've been thrown into the garage bucket. And I'm like, yeah, we're all of that, but we're not just one of those, you know?
right. And in today's day and age with Google, I mean, Google needs it to be so streamlined. Like, you know, I know artist friends of mine who Google will call them folk, and they're not folk, not even close to folk. And like, then you have to fight with Google, like one of the biggest corporations in the world, to try to change your classification to meet what you really
Yeah.
are. Um, so where does the name Adios Fatso come from? Where'd y'all come up with that?
Great. That has like a very cool backstory. So so during pandemic, then again, I gained like 25 pounds like in a month. So a buddy of mine, shout out to him, Luis Castellanos. He's a fan of The Simpsons, so he watches The Simpsons with his kids all the time. So he sent me a clip where like Homer is trying to send a text message to Bart, and he sends the first one and it doesn't go through. Second one doesn't go through. Third one doesn't go through, and then Bart replies, "Adios, Fatso," and that's the end of the conversation. So my buddy sent me that, like, look, this is for you. And so it became like a very like a lighthearted type of joke because of my overweight and whatnot. So we kept saying it, saying it, saying it, saying it, and it stuck. And at the end of the day, I was like, dude, that's stuck throughout all this time. Let's go with that name.
It's amazing, man. I love hearing the origin stories of bands and things like that. Like,
It's
um,
crazy. It's
I have
crazy.
I have
Yeah.
another podcast with a friend of mine named Katie Lynn, and we're always making up names on the show of like punk bands and stuff. Like, we
Oh,
were
there you go.
we were talking about the Eclipse in one episode, and the words "Path of Totality" came up, and I'm like, oh my god, that's a great punk band name. You know,
Absolutely.
coming to the
Absolutely.
stage, Path of Totality. But anyway, so this is my own opinion. Your songs would not exactly be classified as radio friendly for several reasons. One of which would be like the length of the songs, which is what I wanted to get into right now. What's the strategy, if there is one, behind the shorter songs, if there is one?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At first, like I said before, they were like made in order to have them on Instagram and they had to be under 30 seconds. But when the moment came to record them for an album, I was like, I'm gonna add like a sound design for the songs, so like a little intro, a little outro, a clip here and there, some sound effects. So that made the songs be a little longer, still under a minute, but now day and age with TikTok and whatnot, and the attention span of people that like consume content, they don't have a big like attention span. So it's like this is perfect. The songs are gonna be short and sweet, and people are gonna like A, maybe want more if they didn't have enough of it. B, they're not gonna lose attention when they're watching it. So that's kind of like the thought process behind the song being so short.
So basically, the idea behind it is to try to utilize the short form content and attention spans of today's listener rather than trying to go the traditional route of terrestrial radio and things like that.
100%. I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't think a lot of people when the songs went public, not everyone understood that. Some people's like, wait, what's wrong with this? This is not a song. Like I'm missing something. And I was
Mhm.
like, no, it's because the purpose is not to be the traditional 3.5 minute song. And
Right.
you're not understanding the concept. Some people caught it on the first cut glance, but some people didn't understand it. Some people praised it. Some people were like, no, dude, this is not for me. I didn't have enough. So it's like,
Well, it's funny because I know a lot of artists that are on the other side of the coin that are, storytellers, and the songs will end up 6, 7, 8 minutes long,
mhm.
because the story is the story, and you don't want to stop the song until the story has been told. And with this, it's not necessarily that you're telling a story, it's just a snippet of something that's happening on the planet at any given moment.
Yeah.
And that's what you're wanting to do, is kind of share your opinion on that snippet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on, man. That makes me happy. Oh, also, I gotta mention my buddy Marco from Colorado. He has a band, and his songs are super short too.
Okay.
And I've seen him play shows, and the like the reaction from the crowd with short songs, it's incredible. Like I never knew that could be a thing. I was like, wait a minute, people are not gonna be able to get into the songs if the songs are short. I was so wrong with that. I've seen
It's
it like
funny. I was going to
research it.
ask you that because, I mean, traditionally, a live show is, depending on the act, it's typically 3 or 4 hours long. That's how much music the venue wants for the money they're paying. A lot of
Mhm.
times, punk bands or metal bands or whatever, they'll share that 4 hours with 3 or 4 other acts. So, like, with the shorter songs, how is it like to fill that time span in order to meet the
So
venues?
that's a very good question. We have plenty of more songs, and we can also throw like a cover here and there, which would have like a traditional format. But like I said, I watch my buddies band with short format tunes, and then what they do is they play a tune, and like the next one starts right away. They don't stop. So it's like da 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 da
So
da,
it's
end
it's
of the song. One, two,
transitionary,
three.
essentially. It's just
So
transitionary.
basically, it's a nonstop
Yeah.
set that
Yep.
they play, and people love that shit. I'm not gonna lie. I was so surprised because I thought that wasn't a thing that could work, but my buddy proved me wrong. So after that, I was like, that's definitely a way to do it.
That's amazing. I love to hear stuff like that. Just hearing people, who are revolutionary, trying to change the way things are consumed is just
Yeah,
amazing as a fan.
yeah.
So again, you mentioned the project was basically you on everything and Marco on drums. So how much time and effort is required from your end of that to put all of the pieces together and then send it off to Marco?
So that's a very good question. So how the songs are written will be me on my acoustic guitar and singing, or yes, like babbling words or like syllables or whatever.
Hmm.
So that will be the birth of the song. That's how I started. That's my songwriting process. After that, uh, I'll get into my DAW and record the guitar, and after that, I build up upon with all the layers, bass, uh, second guitar, lead guitars, harmonies, and whatnot. And then after that, I will send it to Marco. He'll have that. We use the same software to work with, Logic, and he records the drums on top of it. For this album, he recorded everything with 2 microphones. So the drums are recorded with only 2 microphones. Something to keep in mind, because some people have gotten some feedback like, this doesn't sound like a top-notch studio. I'm like, dude, we recorded this in a basement with 2 crappy microphones.
Yeah, what
Like,
part of DIY didn't you understand, bro?
super DIY. So that said, the end result, we're super, super, super stoked of how it came out, due to the circumstances how we did it.
Mm.
So that's kind of the process. He'll record some drums, send it back to me. We'll discuss them, and then we move forward from there.
And so the album, again, we haven't mentioned it yet, but the album is No Cap, and that's 11 songs. But you also went ahead and also did 11 videos for the songs, which you're super stoked about and proud of, which you should be. So why
Yeah.
did you feel that creating videos for every one of the songs on the album was important?
So since the songs were so short, I wanted to give it some like a added value to it. So I'm like, I work with media. That's what I do for a living, like design and graphics and whatnot. So I was like, I might as well just add a little video for each of the songs. Like the songs are short enough that you can make like a short video.
Hmm.
So I was like, I love the idea, especially in the world we live in right now, with where everything's like so content based, like online content type thing. I was like, this is not going to hurt. In any case, it could be so beneficial, and it doesn't cost me anything because I already do it like for a living and whatnot. So that's why I decided to add the 11 songs as well.
It's funny because
Videos, I mean,
when did you release the album? What year?
December 1st, 2023.
So it's kind of funny because recently I've noticed, as somebody in the music business, a lot of the bigger artists are putting, like Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish and all of the mainstream folks. They're putting together their albums with a new kind of format called visualization videos, which is kind of
Mhm.
like not necessarily an official video fully animated, but it's also not necessarily just a standard static image either. And
Yeah,
that's what you remind me of. Like all of these visualization videos that I'm seeing nowadays from the huge artists, you were doing this shit way before they were doing it. And that's pretty dope, if I
absolutely,
think so. I think that's pretty dope.
absolutely. I think one of my inspirations were, or like, yeah, an artist that I saw doing that, and maybe they were like pioneers on it, was Deftones. They
Uh,
were doing that.
yeah.
So I was like, whoa, okay, I see that. I can do something similar. Why not? Also, on Spotify now, when you play the songs, they have like a 6 to 10 second video that they play while you're listening to the song.
Right.
So this type of content and this type of video production, it aligns with that perfectly.
Yep.
So everything is in a good spot.
Well, I mentioned Billie Eilish, and she's a good example of this. Her new record
Yeah.
is Hit Me Hard and Soft. And um, literally, the visualization video she's putting out with her songs is just her walking. It's just her
Hmm.
walking. That's it. Just walking around a stage, and there's no background, and it looks like she's in like like a netherworld or something. And I'm here to tell you, just having something to look at while you're listening, people are going to listen more, I think, because of that.
Absolutely.
And all you got to
Absolutely.
do is
Actually,
film her walking for 20 seconds and just loop
the,
it, bro. Like, that's all
that's
you got to
that's
do.
funny. That's funny that you mentioned that because we got one visualizer, official visualizer. The only one for now, which is I strapped a camera to the back of my car, and it has like
Oh, I love it.
it's showing
Yeah.
the sticker, the Adios Fatso
Yep.
sticker in the car, and then the environment. And I
So
just drove
smart.
around Boston,
Yep.
and that's the visualizer. That's
So
it.
smart. It's such a smart concept, man. I love that you're doing that. And that's the video I was talking about that I wanted the whole visualization, because I'll tell you, if you're just looking at a static image, it doesn't do as much for the eyeball. You're still going to listen perhaps because it's a shorter song, but like I want to see more. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
going to watch a second time and a third time because I want to see what's going on in the background. I love that shit, man. Kudos on that. So July 4th is coming up, and I know this is important to you from the email you sent me. You're about to embark on another project, which is going to start again on July 4th. So tell us the plans for this. I know this is really
Well,
exciting.
yeah. So I don't know when the show is coming out, but I'm just wrapping up on the pre-production for album 2.
Okay.
I already have all the songs written, so that's super super exciting. And on the weekend of July 4th, we're gonna hit the studio to start recording drums. It's not gonna be in a basement this time around. We're going to an actual studio um, with my buddy Marco, and we're gonna like try to like bring up the notch of the production level.
So you're going to go
for-
into the
for-
studio. You're going to try to make it a little more heavy. Oh, not necessarily heavy, but more quality wise from the
Yeah, yeah,
production
we're,
side.
we're we're bringing up a notch the production value of
So
it.
the question I want to ask you is, you're bringing up the production value, but I'm sure you're still going to want to try to keep a lot of that DIY vibe as well. So how do you meet that balance while you're in the studio now?
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, the essence is gonna be the same one. The inspiration is gonna be pretty much from the same source, which is what's our surroundings and what's going on with the world around us.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be based on that. The only difference is that we're recording the drums in a studio this time around. Everything else is gonna be the same as before. Uh,
Okay, just
and it
don't
was
write a
like,
song on Game 4 with the Celtics last night, okay? Please. No,
hey,
don't.
I'll give you like a. That's funny. Oh, that was terrible, man. That was terrible. Yeah, I was suffering. I was like, why would you guys do this?
I don't know,
But I'll
man.
give you I'll give you an exclusive. One of the songs for the next album called Legend Larry, and it's about Larry Bird.
Let's go. I
Yep.
love to see that. Yes. That's
Yes,
what's
sir.
up.
Number 33. Yes, sir.
Yep, I'm hoping to get a jersey someday. I have a Pierce jersey. If they win this year, knock on wood, they fucking better, bro. I'm gonna get me a Horford jersey this time. So
Nice.
every
I
time
think they're
they
gonna win.
every time they win a title, I have to get a jersey. So there is that.
There you go.
So where can folks follow along with everything you got going on with Adios Fatso and any other projects you might have in the works as well?
So the platforms we're on right now will be Instagram mostly, TikTok, and obviously on every platform that streams music, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and the YouTube channel. That's very important because that's something that we've been posting like little videos every chance we get.
And you're also going to do full visualization videos for the new record as well?
That's haven't been set yet. It's gonna have some. I don't know if all the songs are gonna have like a video for
And
it.
how many songs are you going to be having on the new record?
So we're aiming for 11, just like the previous record, but we have like 13 written right now. So maybe we'll have 11 and then a few B sides, or maybe the album will have 13. I'm not sure at this point.
Maybe have some bonus hidden tracks on there too. That'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why not? Something about the next album will be it's the same essence, but not all the songs are gonna be short format.
Mhm.
Just a few, and there's gonna be like pretty much like half of the album is gonna be like traditional length of songs.
So
Like,
are the longer songs still going to have the same vibe though, the same
yeah,
genre,
yeah,
so to
same
speak?
essence, same thing.
Just more traditional, like with the verse, chorus, bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. because here's the thing, like a lot of people reached out to me, even strangers, saying like, "I love the songs, but they're too short." I'm like, "Yeah, they were made to be too short,
Right.
buddy." But in order to be like, okay, maybe some people just need a little. So it doesn't uh take more of me to make a song like
Well,
twice.
here's a question for you. You talked about being in a rock band or punk band or whatever prior to the pandemic, and being more of a performance artist at that point. And now your projects are more made in, I mean, not, I don't want to say the basement, that's your words, but not mine. I don't know where they're going to be made this time. But are there plans to put a band together to perform these songs live at venues?
Yeah, yeah. There, I'm actually like meeting with guys at this point to be able to like learn the songs, put them like a good set, practice it before we hit the streets. But we've been working on it. At this point, we're looking for a lead guitar player that can sing backup.
Well, there you go. Lead guitar player. Where can people
So
that might be interested send their
if
info for that?
anyone's interested, hit us up. That's the only piece that we're missing at this point. Once we find that fourth piece, because it's going to be a four piece, we're going to hit the street.
Nice.
That's it.
So, yeah, I was. That's the very first thing I was curious about when I first started seeing your story. Is like, okay, this is cool, but a lot of times you're not going to have very much success if you can't bring it to the people out there. If you, that's
Yeah,
the. I mean, at the end of the day, that is the best way to spread the word. That's how you're going to reach the most people. Is
yeah.
if you're playing live. So, if people are just hearing about you and your projects for the first time, you're saying TikTok, Instagram, YouTube is really important for them to
YouTube.
follow along, and they can just search up Adios Fatso everywhere, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, what kind of content are you wanting to release on all? Are you going to release the full songs in short form content on like you did originally with Instagram and TikTok and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for the second album, I think the MO is going to be very, very similar. Um, just trying to everything you learn by doing it the first time, the second time around should be easier, and you might know your way around a little better. If
Yeah.
that's it.
So basically, learn from the successes and mistakes that you've made in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah. You got to adapt too. Like the world is changing so quick that I'm sure that the circumstances are going to be a bit different.
Right. And I think you might be, at the end of the day, you could be creating a new genre, with the whole short snippet um, kind of stuff that social media has really asked for repeatedly nowadays. But
So I like to think. I don't think I'm inventing a genre, but I like to think that I'm adapting to the newer times and how things being consumed in terms of content.
yep.
It is. I'm aware that some people are not gonna like notice that right away, but some people are. And either way, if the people notice it or not, we're moving towards that. So
Yeah.
it's on them if they stay behind.
And
You know?
I think it's very tricky what you're trying to do because sometimes you can be too early with a concept. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And
okay.
sometimes you can be too late. And
Mm.
is that something that scares you or stresses you out at
No,
all?
I like that. I like that you see it that way. I'm on the other side of the coin. I feel and trust so much in the what's being produced, what we did, that I'm very patient about it. I think it's just gonna be matter of time where people are like, oh shit, look at that. That's cool. That's fun.
Yep. It should
So
be that
so
way.
so I don't think it's a matter of timing. I think it's a matter of people like shifting towards understanding because the world is going towards that. Like I don't have to do anything. It's already going towards that.
And the funny thing is, it's been like that for decades, if you think about it. Because like, if you're watching TV or you're watching movies, every single piece of music you consume as a fan is always short form. You're not going to watch a movie and then Tom Petty breaks out in a 6 minute song in the middle of the movie, right? You're just going to
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
chorus or a line here or there. And so it's
yeah,
cool that you're essentially making records that way. And
yeah.
I mean, we've been consuming music that way for a really long time. Commercials, TV shows. I mean, even Broadway doesn't play the whole song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Sir Ken, it's great to have you on the show this week. Again, if you guys are following along out there, it's Adios Fatso everywhere, TikTok, Instagram. What's your email in case we have a lead guitarist out there that wants to send you some
The
info?
email is adios fatso ftw at gmail.
FTW, like for the win, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah,
Adios Fatso FTW at gmail.com. Is that correct?
correct.
Awesome. So you guys make sure you, if you're interested in being the lead guitarist on a song about toilet paper, here is your chance.
Not quite the best for the situation. The trade value for these isn't really that great.
I can't find toilet paper. I can't find anything at all. I can't find toilet paper. Gotta say, fuck the hoarders. I can't find toilet paper. Greed has taken everyone. I can't find toilet paper. This is what you're gonna feed your kids. Toilet paper's what you're gonna feed your kids. Toilet paper's what you're gonna feed your kids. Toilet paper's what you're gonna feed your kids.
Man, what a cool little conversation it was talking with Sir Ken Celli for the first time. Never knew about the guy. It was super awesome to sit and pick his brain about what makes him tick and all of the DIY stuff he has been able to do during a really dark time in our history. Really cool to talk to interesting people from all over the place. And having said that, if you are also interested in being on the 10 Minutes with Boston Chris podcast, you can contact me directly at thebostonchrisshow at gmail.com. Let me know a little bit about yourself. Shoot me an EPK, a biography, some samples of your music or other art, and we will definitely reach back out to you and possibly have you on a future episode. Again, thank you for watching on either YouTube or Spotify, and wherever you are tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button and support however you are capable of doing so. Thank you again for being here, and yeah, we'll catch you down the road.